So a lot of things dropped yesterday after the event. You know, Warcraft Direct, we talked about everything that came out yesterday, but then Blizzard started tweeting stuff out, releasing all kinds of things on Wowhead and everything else. So let's get into some of the stuff that came out after the big event yesterday. Here we go. One big mega server. That's right. If you're playing Classic WoW, you're going to get to play on some big mega servers, big dick servers. That's right. Based on whatever you want to be, normal PvP, normal PvE, or hardcore, there will only be 3 servers to pick from, which is good because it's going to pool players together, going to keep the community large, because at the end of the day, a dead server, especially on a game like Classic, where really the community matters, is not a good thing. So yes, the servers are going to be big, they're going to be fun, hopefully they'll be packed, and for you Classic Andys out there, rejoice, you'll finally have friends again. Moving on to the Midnight expansion, which was in fact slightly revealed yesterday. Yes, it is going to be coming out. We'll be getting a reveal in the end of the summer, it looks like. So the 2025 roadmap was released. We're going to get a deep dive into that thing in a second here. But overall, we saw that the expansion reveal was coming out at the end of the summer of 2025. Now, could we gather maybe a release date for that based on that? Maybe we could. So here it is. If we look at the previous release date for The War Within, when they announced it versus when it was released, it was a 9-month difference. So if the expansion is in fact revealed at the end of the summer, we could be getting a late spring 2026 release of the Midnight expansion, which would be a little bit quicker than usual. Not as quick as I might have been expecting, but still pretty fast for an expansion after what we just got with The War Within, which still feels pretty fresh. They could do a little bit faster and give us a winter 2025. There's also significant space in the autumn 2025 space of the roadmap. So let's get a little bit more into the roadmap, because there was a lot to talk about from this thing. First off, we talked about the Midnight reveal, right? The expansion reveal, which shows up a little bit right here. We'll get some more information about Midnight and everything that's coming with it. But what else was there? Well, we also noticed that there's a missing Season 4, right? We got a Season 4 with Dragonflight, and I think this also hints at the fact that this is going to be a faster expansion. Yeah, Legion Remix. I'll get into that in a second. But there's going to be a faster expansion here. We're not going to get a Season 4. I think Season 3 is going to be at the end, and then we're going to jump. There's not going to be any kind of like revisiting old raids or anything like that. We're going straight into Midnight, which is actually what I prefer. We don't need that extra little season kind of for no reason kind of bullshit. So we're going to continue on. It looks like Season 3 will be the final season of The War Within, and then bam, it's straight into Midnight. Now, the interesting thing was this. When they first revealed the map yesterday, we were talking about what this could be. Certainly looks like some player housing stuff, right? This looks like a Hearthstone, or a Hearthstone maybe that's related to a house, right? Kind of the shape of a house there. Could be. Now, what's interesting about this is it may be hinting at the release of Midnight as well, because if you remember, part of the pre-patch that was for The War Within released all the Warband content, right? It feels like this player housing thing is in fact going to be a pre-patch, potentially, to the Midnight expansion, which is why some people are actually thinking maybe we're going to get it sooner than we thought. Not, in fact, a 2026 release, but kind of what I was talking there, maybe a winter or early 2026 release of the Midnight expansion, considering that this could, in fact, be the launch of the pre-patch right here. Very interesting. That would be sick indeed. I would be very excited if that was the cadence that they, in fact, went with, and would give us some really cool stuff, because, again, Season 3 would probably be the final season here, and it would start in the summer. If we continue on with Season 3 until, like, frickin' the middle of next year, that'd be an extremely long season. So most likely, I would say, we're going to get the Midnight expansion early next year, maybe a winter release, or maybe we get something else in the winter. You guys seeing the shade of green right here? Interesting that the previous roadmaps have always kept that kind of yellow bar, but for some reason the bar here turns a bit green. Well, what does that green remind you of? Yeah, it kind of looks like the Legion green, doesn't it? This is why people are thinking potentially we could be getting a Legion Remix event. And what would be cool about this is, in fact, it could kick off the Sword of Sargeras stuff, right? We know there's a giant sword sitting there, waiting to be discussed, and Blizzard promised us that we were going to, in fact, talk more about the sword. And what would be a better way than to revisit the sword, than to go back, do a remix of Legion, and revisit the fact of how it got planted into the planet to begin with. Yes, that would be sweet. I would love that. What's up, OnlyCam? I agree. I would think that'd be a really cool way to kind of reintroduce us to the lore of the sword, and then you go back to retail, and now we're talking about the sword again. So that green color could certainly, I think it's a good hint at what could be coming. But back to the player housing stuff. Interesting thing that somebody else found here on Twitter, or whatever this is, Butterfly. I have no idea. This is like some kind of Twitter wannabe. But The icon for the player housing Hearthstone is interestingly overlaid over the Northrend Broken Isles zone. So if you look at the picture here, there's actually, this is overlaid on a map. There's a little corner here, and somebody did some great investigative work, Ellie here, or someone else, and discovered that, in fact, this likely is overlaid over the Broken Isles. Now, an interesting thing about that is we already know the Midnight expansion is taking us to Northrend. We're going to be going back to Northrend again. Now, whether we're spending all of our time there or just a little bit, we don't know, but we do know that Northrend is going to be very relevant. And it would be interesting if our player housing was, in fact, on the Broken Isles. I don't know, but that's where this Hearthstone looks like it's overlaid for now. Could mean nothing, could be something. I guess we'll have to wait and see where that ends up taking us. But yes, the Hearthstone over the Broken Isles, Northrend relevant, who knows? I prefer the houses to actually be in hub cities. I think it'd keep people in the cities. You have maybe a door, a portal, or something that takes you into your home within that city. Maybe you can pick which city you're in. I've always said the revamps of places like Gilneas and stuff, to me, signify player housing, because what's the use of a revamped Gilneas if we're never going to go there? But if people want to live there in their player homes, well, then there was a reason to revamp it, and that makes more sense. Moving on to the other interesting thing here, the return of horrific visions. Yeah, what is that? 11.1.5, we're getting horrific visions. Now, if you don't remember what horrific visions were, they were, you know, the big boy N'Zoth doing his N'Zothy stuff. We got these cool versions of Orgrimmar and Stormwind, right, where you go in, you do the horrific visions, you get the gear and everything else that you could possibly get from it. But it's interesting. This was a very much a N'Zoth created thing, right? These were visions of N'Zoth, essentially, that we would go in and visit. So is N'Zoth returning? That's where people are starting to go with this. Sam is an undercover furry. I don't know why I just read that, but I just did. Thank you. Horrific Visions Revisited could mean that maybe Xal'atath has found a piece of N'Zoth, something from N'Zoth, or resurrected N'Zoth, or find out N'Zoth was never dead, and in fact in the blade of Xal'atath that we originally stabbed into him back in BFA. Interesting stuff. Horrific Visions returning. Hopefully a good indication, maybe, of the fact that we could see N'Zoth once again. I think that'd be pretty badass, and I'd be very much into getting some more N'Zothian lore, because N'Zoth got offed way too easy. He's the ultimate planner. He knows he was going to get killed. We already know that from Dragonflight, so he should continue to live on somehow. Maybe his return is in 11.1.5. Now, we know the big thing coming in 11.1.5 is Undermine. The big, you know, it's what it's all about. Sorry, 11.1 is all about Undermine. New customizationable mounts, raid, dungeons, and more. Everything we know so far about 11.1 is now here. So here we go. So you know that you've already seen 11.0.7. Undermine is the capital of the Goblin Trade Empire. Fittingly, our name for 11.1 is Undermined, with a D. Now, they're putting the D in Undermine. That's nice. Now, this is a city unlike any city that we've seen before in World of Warcraft, standing as a testament to intelligence and creativity of the goblins as a master of technology and alchemy. And as our adventures continue, we will learn more about goblin culture than ever before. This is cool for anyone who's in the goblin lore. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot about them. You'll arrive in Undermine that is plunged into conflict between the 4 major cartels. I talked about these kind of being like covenants, but maybe just more cosmetic related. Should be pretty cool. Obviously, reputations to be gotten.
Another Death Knight.
Bella, thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate that. Death Knight of our Scourge. And we also know that there's going to be this whole driving mechanic. So let's get a little bit into this stuff here. The new dungeon, Floodgate, is going to be part of the Mythic Plus rotation, which is a great idea from Blizzard. You know, adding a new dungeon and not making part of the Mythic Plus rotation makes you kind of sad because you don't get to go do it. Well, we're going to get to do this one. It's going to be part of the season, which was a great idea from Blizzard. It'll also be available in normal and heroic. There's a story behind it where they're trying to blow up a dam and you're trying to stop it from happening before it floods the entirety of the Undermined city. We know that Delves and a new Zekvir challenge is going to be introduced here, so more Zekvir stuff, pretty good. An update to him, making him a little bit harder and more relevant to the current content. And then the new raid, Liberation of Undermine. We don't know too much about it yet. We know, I believe it's an 8-boss raid, and we know that Gallywix himself is going to be the final boss. It's really, really cool. I'm excited to fight Gallywix. We left him in Shadowlands and we never saw him again. Interesting that now he's in Undermine. Looks like we're going to be going into a giant casino. I like the look of this raid so far. Kind of the cool images that we've seen really are related to a more colorful look than we're used to. You know, we've gone into a lot of dark dungeons recently, so I think something that's high-powered and colored like this, will be pretty cool. We can get some more images here if we go in here. So we saw some of these, again, more colorful stuff, neat looking stuff. These bosses look really cool, very goblin-y, obviously. I think they hit the theme pretty well here with this Undermine stuff. So that'll be part of the patch. It's a big raid, obviously. We'll be excited to see that and get into the new dungeon. Also, we got the return of another, what's that other goblin dungeon? It'll be returning into the rotation for Mythic Plus as well. Now, this drive thing that they talked about is very interesting. So, this looks like some kind of dragon riding, but on the ground, right? Faster driving. They talked about how this new version of locomotion will be faster on the roads in the Undermined City than any ground mount that you currently have. They're also going to be customizable. Now, they didn't talk too much about whether or not there's going to be racing or anything like that, but it'll be really cool if they do create some kind of like dragon riding challenges, you know, kind of like the dragon riding races that we have, but with cars. I mean, it's legit Mario Kart. This looks very, very cool. I'm excited to see this. This should be pretty fun. Obviously, customizing another thing in the game is always cool, and another thing to go get in the game. How much faster is it? Do you prefer grip? You'll be able to customize these stats on these things too, which is pretty crazy. Give it more grip or drift, more acceleration. That's up to you. You can try it all to rule the streets, living your life 440 yards at a time. Oh, it's pretty cool. I think this is a cool little addition, something that nobody was expecting, but a nice little, you know, tidbit here. Racing, dragon riding, all that stuff's been fun, and I think this will be a cool thing for us to go get as we get deeper into the expansion. Moving on to the trading post and some more relevant stuff coming up in 11.0.7. These were trading post items previously only available on the trading post that will now be available to be purchased in 11.0.7 using the new currency that we're going to be getting on the Siren Isles. So that's pretty good. You'll be able to use these Flame Blessed Irons to get the squirt gun, some of these sarongs and sarangs and whatever you want to call them, this cool little surfboard mount, which is pretty nice. So that's nice for people who missed out on it on the trading post. Now for 11.0.7, it is launching on December 17th. That was confirmed after the event. Blizzard tweeted it out. So we already know December 17th. Here's what they tweeted out. We're going to be getting 11.0.7 coming out. Winter Veil, the Winter Veil event will also kick off slightly after. And then Winter of 2025, Undermined, 11.1 will kick off. We also see some of these other things going on for Mists of Pandaria Remix, the Battle Chest, all that stuff. But these are the relevant dates that we want to pay attention to here. Now for 11.0.7, PTR is kicking off November 13th, which is was yesterday, all the way through the 6th. So that's right, PTR is now available for quicker PTR testing. We progress through content faster on the PTR, so they basically created cycles that are quicker so people can test the end game content here. So this thing's just around the corner. I mean, literally now, what is it? Less than a month away. Almost a little bit over a month away, I should say, a couple days and a month. So this looks pretty good. I'm excited to play through it. This will be a nice way to take us into the Winter Veil event, finish off the year, and get ready for what looks like is going to be a very exciting 2025. And while you're waiting over the holidays, you can pre-order your music. That's right, the beautiful chorus that was played at the end of the event yesterday. You can, in fact, buy that stuff now. So there was a live chorus that played World of Warcraft songs. That stuff was evidently recorded and will be saleable on this. These are disc sets. Oh shit, these are full-blown disc sets. Yeah, these are vinyls. So that's pretty cool. You can get yourself some collector's edition vinyls with all the music that was played yesterday. These look pretty cool, honestly. I don't know how much they're going to be. I guess you can pre-order them. $90 to pre-order them. Okay, so there you go. If you're into that, you want to get them, that's how much it's going to cost you. And that is all in terms of news.